So at the moment I am working on the voice processing for Bane. I just got done recording about 24 minutes of me going through and reading every line in as many different ways as possible. A lot of the time I was trying to listen through the headphones to the way Tom Hardy actually delivers the lines in the trailers and trying to copy them as closely as I could. I'm not Tom Hardy, so obviously it's not going to sound exactly the same. He's a beast of an actor and I'm an amateur. However, when the processing is done, it should sound pretty close. Now the first thing that I did was import it here into Audition. That's what I use. Sorry, I don't have Pro Tools. I'm not rich. Sorry, excuse me, all of you sound people. Don't flame me to death because I don't use Pro Tools, okay? I'll get there. So I'm applying my basic equalizer right now, which this microphone, it tends to emphasize midtones. And midtones in the human voice, well, I could show you what it did sound like, but it just sounds really muddy. So I dropped midtones a little bit, kind of emphasized the bass and a little bit of the higher end of the frequency.
Okay, this is going to be one long run.
So that kind of gives you the radio voice type of sound, something that people are used to hearing when they're listening to the human voice. So that's the basic EQ that I did. And once I have that done, once everything sounds clear, then what I'm going to have to do, if you're going for, well, this is the way it was when Bane's voice was in its original form, when everyone was complaining. I actually really liked that voice. So you want to duplicate your voice layer, your track here, and you're going to pitch one down and you're going to pitch one up, so you get kind of a high voice, like a high-pitched voice, and then a low-pitched voice beneath that. So you're going to have kind of I'll just show you. And this is like a 300 megabyte sound file, so it's really long and really big, so it takes a second to save it. Well, once we've got that, we can then import, see, we want the high. So now we have one that's titled All Lines High and All Lines Low. So now that we have both of our tracks here, by the way, the reason you want to make sure these are duplicated, you have two different files here, is because now we're going to apply pitch correction. And if you only had one, I mean, you could just pull it out onto two different tracks, but whatever you affect, whatever pitch correction you put on that is going to apply it to both. But we want to have a different pitch correction on each of these. So let's go to the high one first. We want to pull that up, double click to pull it up here so that we're affecting the original source file directly. You want to go into your effects and your pitch, and I'm going to go ahead and raise it by about 4.5 semitones. Just see what that sounds like. It's going to take a little while. Okay, so we've pitched it up by about 3.5 semitones. Let's go ahead and have a listen to this part.
This one? Alright, we found it. This is not it.
Okay, so that sounds pretty good. At least it will in a minute. So let's go to the low and apply a pitch correction on that one. This is going to actually be the one that has more emphasis. You're going to hear this one a lot louder than the high pitch, but let's take it down by like -3.5 semitones. That should be pretty good. Yeah, it's going to take a second. Okay, so we've applied our pitch correction here. Let's listen to that. That's perfect. So now when we go back to our multi-track, we have one that's pitched high and one that's pitched low. So let's listen to that. See how crazy that sounds? That's a really kind of unnerving sound, and that's often you'll hear that when you have any kind of machine or mechanic part that's on a person's voice in films or video games or whatever. So now that we've done that, I actually have saved a couple of presets. Oh wow, that already applied it, didn't it? Let's take those off so I can show you. So I'm gonna want this preset that I saved, and basically what I've done here is I've applied a filter. That'll make it sound like it's coming through a machine, like a radio or through speakers or something like that. We'll go ahead and take a look at the filter. You can see here you're really cutting off high frequencies at a certain point. You're really just dropping them out. And I kind of have a more subtle drop off here, and then a really hard drop once you get to, I could probably pull this over a little more, because the human voice doesn't even really go that low. Like right around 100 hertz, and just really kind of just drop that off. But the lower end needs to be emphasized. There needs to be more power in the lower end. So this doesn't need to drop off quite as hard as the higher frequencies. I could probably drop this lead a little more. So that's what I got going on there. Then I've applied kind of a distortion. There's a lot of different presets that come with Audition that I've used, and I don't have it. I don't have the distortion too high because it was sounding a little more like Bane in the prequel video than like Bane in the new, or the way his voice sounds now. It's just a little more clear and easier to understand. And I've compressed it a little bit, but I'll probably pull that back to like 20%. And I don't think I want any of that resonance. So that's going to be the effect. Oh, I got a channel mixer. This is just noise reduction. A lot of hiss and stuff is coming through. So I've just kind of basically cut off that hiss. And then I've got another EQ on here to emphasize some of the lower frequencies and mid to higher frequencies here. And then I cut a little bit out of the mids here. And then I liked the way that sounds. And when it comes to EQ, you really just kind of have to. There's no set EQ. Like, you just have to listen to it and kind of feel it out, and you know, go with what you hear and what effect you're wanting to get across. So I'm going to apply another preset, a similar preset to this one. It's only slightly different for the higher. And I'll see what it sounds like here. So we probably wanted to turn down the higher one a little bit. It's coming through a little hard.
Gentlemen, take control. Take control of your departments.
You can start to see it's starting to sound a little bit more like the Bane voice when I'm not being silly and going.
Take control. Take control of your departments.
See, you can hear that now.
Gentlemen, take control. Take control of your departments.
It's starting to sound a little bit like Bane. I'll probably do a little bit more work on that, but that's kind of the basics of how we're going to be creating the Bane voice.
Identify yourselves to the world.
Let's go to one of the hardcore lines here.
Take control. Take control of your departments. Take control. Take control of your departments.
You can kind of start to hear that muffled. I might need to muffle it a little bit more, but that's the basics. The basics of how to make Bane's voice. Thanks for watching.